We know, Mohammed Kozbar, that the manifesto that the Christchurch attacker had issued included the name Darren Osborne as part of it, which must have, I mean, apart from the horror of the attack itself, the mention of the attack on your mosque must have put a chill down your spine as well.
Well, this was a shock for us. It is deeply shocking. It's beyond imagination what's happened over there. And bringing Darren Osborne as a role model for him is more shocking for us. And it is very worrying, actually. It is a sad day for not just only the Muslim community, but for the whole world, actually. Islamophobia, no doubt, in the rise. And it is an issue now which we all have to deal with it and tackle it. There is no way of denying that there is an issue with Islamophobia. And it is a global issue now. It's not about local issue in certain countries. It is everywhere. When we see some media promoting hatred against Muslims and feeding toward this narrative, when we see politicians calling Muslim women as a letterbox or bank robbers, this feeding toward this narrative, when we see social media saying kill all Muslims or Muslims are taking over the country here in the UK, this feeding toward this narrative, this has to stop, because otherwise similar horrific attack like this will happen, and somebody like this terrorist will be groomed and brainwashed by these narratives.
Christian Picciolini, you describe yourself as a former white supremacist. You were radicalised before the days of the internet and social media, weren't you? I mean, what led to your radicalisation, your epiphany, and how much worse do you think it has got?
Well, I was recruited at 14 years old in 1987 as one of America's first neo-Nazi skinheads, and I spent 8 years in that movement, and I found my way out 8 years later after being a leader. And what led me out was essentially the compassion of strangers. It was the people that I thought I hated who showed me compassion and empathy at a time that I least deserved it. And they were the people I least deserved it from, and that had a very powerful impact on me because I was able to humanize the people I demonized for so long. And I do think that this problem is getting worse. 30 years ago, we were visible. It was our job to terrorize people by being seen. And what's happened is a transformation and a polishing of the message that's helped it become more normalized and more part of the mainstream society and throughout Europe and in America and now even in places like Australia and New Zealand. And I agree with Mohammed. I think that these acts in this manifesto are going to encourage more acts of violence like this. The internet has amplified these narratives, this propaganda that is flooding all over the web, and it's landing into the hands of unstable people who find no other option but to murder other people.
Right, I mean, Mohammed Kozbar, I think that's a really interesting point. I see no real difference in terms of behavioural pattern between what ISIS have been doing and what these white supremacist far-right lunatics have been doing. It's the same ideology, spun a different way. You will do it my way, you will be like me, and if you're not, I'm going to kill you. And what you can see now, this guy was doing this in his warped, twisted mind as a revenge attack for ISIS outrages. No doubt there will be some attack by an Islamist group or person inspired by this, acting as revenge for this. And so it goes on. There's this spiral of hatred, but it's being fueled by the internet. What do we do about this new challenge that didn't exist 30 years ago, where these people on all sides of the hate divide, if you like, can get so easily radicalised through the click of a button on a computer?
Well, this is a responsibility for these big, huge internet companies who like Facebook, Twitter, and others, who has a big responsibility on containing that and not allowing such fanatic people like ISIS and these far-right extremists to abuse the system, their system.
Are they failing in your eyes?
They are failing. Of course they are failing. And we've seen what's happened. This guy streamed it live on Facebook. His aim was to terrify the Muslim community, to tell them, look, you are not safe anymore. You will be killed wherever you are, even in your most sacred place, which is the mosque. But let me tell you that we are, as a community, we are a resilient community. We won't be intimidated by these cowards. We won't be broken by these cowards. And what we've seen on Friday, more people came to mosque. My mosque, Finsbury Park Mosque, well, the people who came on that day were doubled. And the people are defiant. They don't want to let these people succeed on their mission, because what their mission is to break us and to divide the communities. And what we are doing at the moment is bringing communities together. If there is anything good and positive come out from this, is what I've seen when I came to the mosque at 9:30 in the morning. Flowers laid outside on the door in the mosque, and some cards with beautiful messages that we are with you, you are not alone, we are with you. This kind of behavior which we want to see in our community.
Christian, let me ask you, we had a debate earlier about Donald Trump and whether he is the most powerful man in the world, the President of the United States, should be doing more to renounce these people on the far right in the way that he does very willingly and very often with, you know, Islamist terror attacks and ISIS terrorists and so on. He seems very reluctant to do it. He's done nothing like that after what happened in New Zealand, despite his own name being evoked by this guy. Do you think Trump should be doing more?
Absolutely. This isn't the first time that his rhetoric has influenced people to commit acts of violence like this. I think he has to take responsibility for his own words, but I also think he has to acknowledge a domestic terrorism threat that has existed within our borders for hundreds of years and is now getting much worse than it has in centuries. This is a problem not just for the United States, but it also has an impact on other parts of the world, as we're seeing. You know, the internet and the global nature of media today is making sure that this is landing in every corner of the earth. But I think you're right, Piers. You know, there isn't very much of a difference between what leads somebody to become a neo-Nazi or a white nationalist or even an ISIS supporter. And I think that that's why we need to focus on our most vulnerable communities before they get to that point. Because what I see over and over with the hundreds of people that I've helped disengage is that they're always led there by their life's traumas, and they find identity, community, and purpose in these groups. And
well, I think we're having similar problems here on a totally different scale and level, but we have a massive knife crime problem in this country, and again it's driven by hatred. You know, there's no doubt that there are young people, for whatever reason, disenfranchised in this country right now, wandering around with knives, stabbing each other because they're full of hate for people. And it's the hatred that underpins all of this.
Defining something as other in a search perhaps for your own identity. Because, as you say, something's happened in your past, your socio-economic circumstances mean that you don't feel that you belong. And it's that connection with others, isn't it? I mean, Christian, you were involved in helping recruit others to the cause when you were part of this horrible group. It's so much easier now, isn't it, if you're just on your own, because you can find that group via the internet. You don't even need to be with them to know that they're out there and they're providing you with support.
That's right. You know, 30 years ago, I would have to meet somebody in person, or I would have to get a physical piece of information, you know, as far as propaganda goes. But today, the internet is open 24 hours a day, and it's almost as if it's you know, an online hate buffet where marginalized, broken people, you know, can find whatever narrative comforts them. And it's very much like substance abuse, where, you know, when people are doing this, to some degree, they know that it's hurting them, but they do it because it's the only thing that comforts them. And I can tell you that, you know, whether it's privilege or poverty or mental illness or trauma or any other pothole that they might encounter on their life's journey, those are the things that deviate them to the fringes. But again, this is not a fringe problem.
Christian, we've got to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for your views. Mohammed Kozbar, thank you very much indeed for coming in.